Welcome to Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Minahan and her panel of guests bring you leading-edge astrology conversations through a journey of soul growth patterns connecting astrology's energetic cycles. Get ready to understand your path in the cosmic roots of the stars.
Hello, this is Sue Minahan, your founder of Talk Cosmos, leading edge conversations, awakening your authentic self to empower soul growth. And we're so pleased today to have a special guest, Karen Wennerlind, for our wonderful subject, Mars in Gemini, Scouting Freedom for 7 months. It's a long transit because there is a retrograde, right? Well, we'll find out when it is. It's dynamic time. Our action planet with our curious information environment close to us, Gemini, that actually, I will always add, reaching between the gamuts of the matter and the spirit. So it's more than just what's happening with information, but it's a lot. We are going to be experiencing this. So thank you so much. And we are ready now for, well, we don't have an automated one. I'll tell you about Karen Wennerlind. Karen Wennerlind is a professional astrologer in Seattle, Washington. For many years, she was the leading astrologer, or one of them, at astrology at East West Book Store, which is part of the Ananda, and her site is seattleastrologer.com. And she is a metaphysical astrologer with Uranian and Western traditions. However, she incorporates for her whole lifetime business, astrology, and electional, horary. It's the full gamut. Karen knows it. It is really amazing. She has a study group. She is also the sales representative for Solar Fire, which is one of the leading softwares that astrologers use, and in many capacities. And I hope I'm not missing anything, but I'm so glad to welcome once again Karen Wennerlind.
Thank you so much, Sue. It's very good to be here tonight and this afternoon and talk to everybody appropriately about Mars and Gemini, our beautiful, lovely Mars who needs to go, and Gemini, and we can just talk.
And we have been feeling it, haven't we? Because it entered just a few days ago on the 20th. Today is only the 28th, so it's only been a week, but I just feel like, what happened? It's just the candle. I have to keep pouring the candle in the flame to keep it burning because I'm burning out all my wicks, but I'm going.
Yeah, so Mars has a lot of energy to do a whole lot of things. And typically Mars will stay in a sign for about a month, maybe 6 weeks max, and then he decides to go retrograde. Once about every 2 years, he and Venus go retrograde the least often of all of the planets that do go retrograde. And he is going to be in the sign of Gemini for 7 months. Keep going.
I love the kitty cat.
Yeah. Okay.
Not to worry.
That's Ace. And so Mars loves really doing that long time in one thing because he gets a lot, he wants to get a lot done. Now, he doesn't necessarily know what that is, getting a lot done. Okay, sweetie, sit down.
He's busy too.
Yeah.
He says, I'm busy.
Yeah. I have my priorities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's the problem with Mars, is he doesn't have priorities, and in Gemini, he doesn't have priorities. The idea of Gemini is to be broad. It's like lots, bring in,
gather.
Give me data, and more data, more information, please. um, and and Mars sometimes doesn't want to do all that gathering data. Just give me the cheat sheet on it.
And
What
let me
is it?
go. Let me get some action. I got
And let me
places to
then
move
do
through.
stuff.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so uh, unless he's got a lot of fun people to hang out with while he's learning that new stuff, but Mars doesn't want to sit still in class. So that going to a talk, probably not, maybe once in a while, that'd be fine. But talking to friends and talking to associates and going to a movie and having a beer after the movie and saying, what did you think? And what was that about? It's just,
it helps though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you. Because I'm realizing that the virtue of that moment to just experience, because a lot of it's experience, right? With Mars, and in the fact that it has this area of Gemini that is so social, wants to communicate and share in that sense, that it's a learning process. There's so much to gain. You never know it, and along with that curiosity, what will come across your path that later, as it moves into the other signs, and it does all, as we will know, it's going to have not just stand alone as it moves through the sky. It's actually aspecting a lot of other energies.
Sure.
That there's ways to develop that. So it's not just, I mean, it can be just a party. I mean, in that case, but it's very productive. It can be quite productive.
Mm-hmm. And so Mars is likely to get this cool idea and go try it and fall on his face, and then get back up and say, how do I shift that? How do I change that? Or, okay, I'm done with that. Because it doesn't, Mars and Gemini doesn't evaluate well. But for getting ideas and kind of getting that download, or what they would, it's like putting a million ideas on the blackboard and just making them as ridiculous as possible, so that you've got like 40 things on the blackboard and then only one of them is really any good.
That's the tricky part sometimes.
Because Mars,
true.
It's so sometimes those kinds of things are better done with other people. So you get into a group situation and you're all kind of mind mapping or some other tool where you're in that process of discovery.
Oh, beautiful.
Because Mars wants his freedom to do what he wants when he wants it. Right now, please. Or whatever day that is, right? It's like, okay, I have to do this today and that tomorrow, and I got to do the laundry. Mars will do that, but he also wants to be able to, pioneer, trailblaze, be the first one out, and that's why in this process of becoming invigorated with the potential of ideas, Mars sometimes jumps the gun, because some ideas are meant to stay only potentials. Okay.
Without that evaluation, when one's, how can I say, creating, it's not just creating, right? But I'm thinking archetypally, that initiation where you're breaking away, it's into new terrain, like the heroine or the hero is that journey of becoming. You don't have any past to really relate to, so it's hard to know until you've done it. So that's where, if it doesn't work, it's kind of like, okay, trash it, let's go on, or else maybe. But and I can see too, if I might add, the gift of the group, of the mind mapping, which you very beautifully presented, because you get the support and feedback from others that help you, rather than just feel like, oh, it was a failure. Perhaps not. It just needed a little reworking.
And a lot of what the process of Mars retrograde is the examining of ideas you want to take big in the world. So if there's something that you want to do, it's like during the Mars retrograde, knock all the bugs out of this thing. Do your project planning and what do I need to do to promote that? We were talking earlier, setting up for this. It's like, I need a new mic. It's like, oh yeah, I need a new mic. Okay. And that's a very real practical thing. I wouldn't know until this happened today. And then it's like, oh, awesome. Yeah. Yeah, true. And that's the sort of pieces that when you pay attention to what's going on and have that conversation and are listening, it's crazy creative.
It is. Another example, I just thought yesterday I did a workshop or session, and I had not a PowerPoint, but Google Slides I wanted to present. And amazingly, it took me a little while remembering from another presenter that she had a PDF that she'd sent me. I thought, because if you don't make it a PDF, that keeps it from going, when you share it, people don't get into your system. It's just the PDF. So it's those simple things that, again and again, the tools, sometimes it can be very instructive information, not just metaphysical whys and hows and that I seem to get involved with.
Yeah. Well, and you've heard the truism that you know what you know, but you don't know what you don't know,
or even how to ask.
Yeah, you have no, which is why group or activities around a particular project are excellent, especially during this period of time, because other people know that stuff. You don't, but now you know a little bit. So I know I don't have a good mic. Awesome. Now I don't know how to buy a mic yet, but I can figure that out. Right. So it's like,
and you sound okay. We're
it's adequate. Right.
Yeah.
But it's one of those, it's just that idea of learning. How am I learning just this ongoing conversation to have with myself? And Gemini isn't typically a goal-driven sign unless they have a fascination in something. So Gemini loves to go down the rabbit hole. It's like, ooh, that's cool. Ooh, that's interesting. But it's like bright, shiny thing, just being distracted by the next cool, bright, shiny thing. And that's perfectly fine to use this energy over the next 7 months to be broad and to be diverse and to listen to all kinds of points of view. And, if you wanted to go travel, for example, next spring, this would be an excellent time to find out everything there is to find out about where it is that you want to go to next fall or next spring. Whatever place, it's like, oh, that would be cool, but we can't do that trip in 1 week. We have to break it up, and this is a 3-week trip. I'm not, but you start out with lots of information, and then you pare it down into what's doable, achievable, and you can be accountable to and for.
Do you know
Yeah.
So I just realized, Karen, I hope I'm not. So this retrograde, 7 months, when I stop, okay, we're in summer. It's going to go through. Well, it's not the retrograde. It's a whole transit of, because we have two thoughts here. We have the transit of Mars, this action planet that gears us up for our mojo. And it's, however it moves. And it's in this communicative, transportive Gemini, and it's for 7 months. But that happened, and so the retrograde's in the middle, which I'll start talking about. But this is summer, so it's going to go through fall, then it goes through winter, and it actually goes into next spring because it's March 25th, I think, that it ends, and that's like 4 days after the spring equinox. This is like shocking. This is major. This is going to really be quite a transformation.
Mm-hmm. 7 months is a long time, and it's so. A lot of times in astrology, we focus so much just on that retrograde period. We're so used to Mercury retrograde, right? And we focus on Mercury retrograde that 3 weeks. But for some of these, it's like, we can use the energy of the entire period to be able to maybe work on some stuff we want to work on, to grow ourselves, to grow our businesses. For a Mars cycle for a business, it's like, where do you want to put your energy with your business, with your job for the next 2 years until Mars goes retrograde again, and you reevaluate it. And so here, this period of Mars and Gemini is like, what works? What doesn't work? What do I want to be better? And then what else is possible? It's like, how do I find out what I don't know? How to make it beyond?
Is there a tool? I know you have your study class, which I am part of, and very inspiring, and had a wonderful one about Mars. Without looking at the charts yet, however, are there and applying it to your own chart? Is there somehow you can tell people to? Yeah.
Sure. So wherever Gemini is in your chart, because everybody's got a Gemini. It's somewhere in your chart. So wherever it is, that house that it's in will be highlighted for the next 7 months. And so the activities of that, in my own chart, it's sitting in the 9th house. So I'm talking all of a sudden, I've got a friend who said, come down to Mexico. Another person is going to take a trip next fall, possibly to Greece, or and it's like, well, that would be wonderful. Now, can I actually go? I don't know, but hey, now it's going through my 9th house, which is international travel, and it's wanting to learn about, really study some things at a higher level. That stuff has come through from the 9th house. So whatever house it is, whatever that focus is, if it's the 1st house, it's going to be, what is my environment like? How can I make my house a more welcoming and more open? Do I like the neighborhood that I live in? Do I like my neighbors? How do I relate to that? When was the last time you were a tourist in your hometown? 1st house and 3rd house. I think how great for being a tourist in your own town.
Stay vacation.
In your if it's in your 3rd house, Gemini in your 3rd house, then you're going to want to learn some new things. You maybe want to get a new car, especially with this Mars going through there. New vehicle, you betcha. And or maybe get rid of a car. But what's my mobility? Am I more free with it or without it? Because again, it's like some people, freedom is that car, and other people are thinking, gosh, I got rid of that thing.
Money, exactly.
It costs too much money, and I don't need it.
I know would rent a car if they had to go somewhere. Somebody that always,
Yeah, exactly. And so you, so depending on the nature of each house, of the house that Gemini is in your chart, is how you would say, this is where the focus is going to be for my energy.
And of course, the degrees, if one's an astrologer, one can then pinpoint it like, well, it's affecting this planet and that planet and whatnot.
Yeah.
And these are the kind of things. Well, thank you very much, Karen. That's a good review. Did you, let's see, we have maybe a few minutes. Shall I bring up the power, this,
Yes.
Okay, I will do that. And this is us today, as everybody sees with Karen. Oh, come on. Here we go. Okay, there. This is just a little bit of information that tells about the period.
Mm-hmm.
It started just a week ago, and it's going all the way, as we said, until March. And the retrograde period itself, which begins in October on the 10th.
19th.
And it goes, yeah, I've got something blocking it. And if I move it, why is that? It's so, there, good. Okay, good. Anyway, yeah, till January 12th. And for the audience that can't see this, because we have a podcast, that's true. And there is a shadow period, a path, and not to get too involved, people can read this, but it is when these points, astrological points of its retrograde are passed on 3 times. There's 2 times it's direct and 1 time when it's retrograde. So that happens to...
And so the first Passover says, here's the potentials here, whether it's a potential positive or potential negative. But if there's a problem that comes up or an opportunity that comes up, either one, for the first pass through, then those are things when Mars goes retrograde, it will then show up as an issue that you have to work through and work with that energy while it's going retrograde. Then once it turns around and goes direct again, that third pass, then it's like, let's put this into action. So now Mars is in direct motion going over everything the last time. And it's like, okay, here's the plan in action. Now we're just tweaking it a little bit as we go through the third part of it. That's one reason I love the Mars retrograde, especially because it is such an energy base and you can feel the shift and the change. And you can use that energy a lot. I think it's probably the easiest planet to use as part of that retrograde because it focuses the energy in one sign for so long that you really get to sense it and feel it if you choose to dive into it in that way.
And the universe, I'm reminded, or I've been told, loves action. So, and those action steps can be from the small to the big. As they say, it takes 1 step for 1,000 miles, right? Or 1,000 feet or steps or whatever, as the saying goes. And I know there's many ways to get past blocks, if that's what, but this is really, in a sense, with Mars and Gemini, if there was ever an opportunity to try to get past our blocks, I think this could be one of the better energies, because first of all, it's not evaluating, as you say, and judgmental. It's just experiencing. And so it's going to try many things and have, and somehow get involved with others in the process, because that's what it wants. It wants to communicate.
Yeah, it wants to connect. Yeah.
Or write. You can write and write to the universe from that standpoint.
Well, sure. All that, any kind of artistic expression, whether everything from dance, because dance is a form of communication, and singing, all artists of all kinds, we have a friend in study group who is a lovely artist who's totally gotten into it, and she's just so excited about it right now. And it's just delightful to see and when people have that experience of finding and being in a passion. It's and you watch their watch her skill set get better and better as she goes through the process. It's fabulous, but it's doing the effort. It's doing the thing. It's trying it out.
Yeah. And here, before we leave, which will be a few minutes, and we'll come right back, folks. But at 8 degrees till 25, if we look at the orbs, even if 5 degrees, which is very minimal, and sometimes if it's a major sign like a sun conjunct that, it could even be 10, meaning it's all of Gemini practically. It's like the whole strata of Gemini energy. And if you have that, this is operating through, happens to be going right across my sun and my Mercury. So I'm really looking forward to quite some transitions and discoveries and beautiful things. So it's great. I think when we get back, and I'll remind folks, I am speaking with Karen Wennerlind from Seattle, Iranian traditional astrologer, Western astrologer, and in business in many aspects. And this is about Mars in our 7-month seeking freedom, scouting it out in Gemini that actually started a week ago and will go until after the equinox next spring. So we will be back in just a moment and return with some nitty-gritty stuff with our charts. Okay. Thank you. While we take a break from this week's edition of Talk Cosmos, let's take a look at this cycle's archetype. We are currently in the yin period of Virgo. By leaving a cycle based on the creative manifested legacy of our highest creative form, the energy of Virgo completes the last sign below the horizon of the self and requires discernment to perfect oneself through the mental process of critical analysis. As a mutable earth sign duly ruled by Mercury, Virgo refines, heals, or fixes through daily routines, developing skills and services to control nature's chaos and maximize efficiency. Interested in having a natal chart mini transit reading? Talk Cosmos Kaleidoscope Visions panel invites you to participate, joining this learning experience and to provide your feedback via audio in 2023 during one of its monthly scheduled Sunday shows at 1:00 p.m. Pacific time. Find panel descriptive info on the website www.talkcosmos.com and send in your request through the website's contact email, info@talkcosmos.com. We look forward to connecting with you for a natal chart mini transit reading with Kaleidoscope Visions panel, scheduled every fourth Sunday of the month, 1 p.m. Pacific time, celebrating 2023 Talk Cosmos 6th season.
This is Martha Norwalk every Sunday morning beginning at 9 a.m. Thanks in part to the Whispering Dragon Center in Seattle, we cover the world of animals. This week, September 4th, it's Shelter Rescue Sanctuary and anything that helps our animal friends Sunday. We'll check in with our regulars, Meow Cat Rescue, Help Animals India, and Seattle Dogs Homeless Program. Plus, we'll chat with the Ananda Institute of Living Yoga to find out all about the great classes and events coming up there. Hope you can join us for Martha Norwalk's Animal World Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to noon, right here on Alternative Talk, AM 1150.
Going against the grain has never been this much fun. Alternative Talk 1150.
Oh boy, hi. That's always great. And a question here before we go on with the screen here. Karen, what events might you want to share with the audience that are active in your life coming up?
Well, I am working on, YouTube channel where we focus on doing tutorials for a popular astrology software called SolarFire. So in the fall, we'll have that start. I haven't picked the date yet for that start, but we'll, if you'd like to be on that, be notified when we go live on YouTube, send an email to me at Karen@SeattleAstrologer.com, and I'll put you on the email list for the announcement for that channel.
Oh boy, that's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I have SolarFire, and there are questions, and it's daunting sometimes, and then so exciting when you figure out how to work it. I bought it so that I could grow with it. So this is wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's lots of tricks.
Yes. And subscribing to something like that then is the name of the game.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Let's go to now the charts, and we'll figure now. And for our podcast folks, let's see, what am I doing? I don't know why. Oh, okay. There we go. Yes. Oh, this is the shadow path. Okay. On the 4th of September, in a few weeks, it'll start that shadow at 8 degrees. It has actually reached the 8 degrees. On the 30th of October, which is quite a ways later, month and a half, it goes retrograde at 25. And then it carries us all through the holidays into the middle of January, when it finally goes direct again, back at that wonderful 8 degrees. And then it won't finish, as you said, for that third try. Third's a charm. Let's get it done. Pathway at 25 degrees Gemini again, just before the equinox, which is on the 16th, which is very cool. And then it will leave just shortly after that. So let's jump. Unless you have something to say, we'll just jump to the chart. Shall we do that?
Go on to the next one.
All right. Here we are. This is one of your charts. And this is for...
Go to the next one.
Oh, the next one? Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you, Nathan. That was beautiful to have it big. There we go. Okay.
Okay. So there should be a chart, Mars ingress Gemini. One more.
Oh, one more. Okay. Pardon
Yeah.
me. Thank you. Okay. Here we are. In London.
Nope. Not Mars retrograde, Mars ingress. There it is.
Oh, okay. It's the last. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah. So it was just, yeah. So this is what has just happened. We had August 20th, 2022. Since this is a universal chart, we use London, United Kingdom to time the chart to. And the point at the left-hand side of the chart is the ascendant. That little AS is shorthand for ascendant. And the ascendant in this chart is 28 degrees of Gemini, of Virgo, sorry.
No,
Virgo.
it's okay. It's both Mercury ruled, right? Uh-huh.
And Mercury rules that Virgo as well as the Gemini. And so Mars doesn't normally like Virgo. Yeah, they're not compatible energies. That Virgo ascendant is calling, and then of course the Mercury, the little purple Mercury is right there, right on that ascendant, with that ascendant. And so the planet that rules the Mars through this whole 7 months is that Mercury, and in the sign of Virgo. And Virgo wants one to live their most impeccable self. So what is impeccability for you? This is a big question. It's like, what are you willing to put up and shut up and do it even though it's hard, and doing things because you said so? where I'm congruent with what I say is who I am. Virgo wants to hold you accountable to that. And Mars doesn't necessarily like that because he wants to explore a lot of possibilities, but it's necessary if he wants to accomplish anything in the world, because he needs to learn how to manage other people, manage himself, needs to know when he just wants to do something versus, yeah, I'm going to do that. It's like, how much commitment does one have? It's really important, that level of commitment, because Gemini has no commitment. Gemini's broad, but you narrow it down so you can create something. Then you have to create commitments, and you have to create a path that narrows it. But when it becomes a path that you're excited about and you have some real fire with, then you're growing yourself, and that freedom that we've been talking about can be discovered, but it gets discovered through self-imposed limitations, as opposed to the limitations brought on by other people. In this case, it's like, ooh, I choose this. Because the Virgo says, so Buckwheat, you're going to learn how to snow ski this year. Awesome. That means you better get in shape before you get up on the slopes, or you're going to hurt yourself. So starting now, I've got to do my exercise routine so that I can get, so that when my lessons start, and I got to sign up for the lessons, and so there's things to do to accomplish that fun goal of learning how to ski, or learning how to ski better. And for those of us who, learned how to ski when we were 12, we're older now. It'll take us a while before we can get back on the ski slopes again. So again, that's an example of an activity that you have to plan to be able to actually accomplish it at a high degree or at a high level for maximum fun. And that's the Mars piece. It's like, how do we get maximum fun out of this?
Well, that's very illustrative, particularly because, as we know, they're both mutable signs when we have the Gemini and Virgo, meaning that there's in that tension of astrological square, which really asks for a resolution. So understanding that, rather than the frustration that Mars might ask, it's like, okay, if we want to open the key, you have to use the right key, or else the round peg in the square, it's like, find the right shape, something, and then it works.
Well, and the thing is that Mars and Gemini both are so interested in so much that one of the ways you can determine whether it's something you're going to do or not is by asking Virgo, what'll it take to get that done? Virgo knows. Virgo knows what it'll take to get that done.
Keep them on their team. In other words, use that Virgo as a team member. Good.
Yeah. And that way the Virgo is enrolled, and the Virgo says, I can assist. But if you're going to play around on me and not be serious about this, I've had it with you. And the Virgo will just walk away because you're Mr. Undependable.
Yeah. Intention.
Matters. You've got to have the commitment to be able to accomplish it, because Virgo doesn't want to mess around. It's like, okay, if we're going to do this, let's do this.
All right. Now, this is for London, and for the podcast, that happens to be a chart on the 20th of August at 8:57 a.m. British Standard Time, because Greenwich is just shortly there, nearby, of course, with Greenwich Mean Time, but that's in the winter. It's used unilaterally at winter. So in the summer, we use the British Standard Time. But that people can develop their own chart if they so wish to see for the world, this world view.
Yeah, this is called universal time. Greenwich is 0. It's the start of the day, and it's where we start timing from. So that's why it becomes a world chart, because this is where we arbitrarily start it from.
Did you want to go back to the dual chart or to another one?
Sure. Go back just one more.
One more.
One more. Just one more.
Oh, one more. Okay.
And let's look at the Mercury Mars retrograde all by itself. There we go. Yeah. Yeah. So on October 30th, just the day before Halloween, we get the lovely Mars retrograde. And this is the universal chart for everybody. Okay, the whole world will operate off of this. And in this chart, that ascendant area is the sign of Aquarius. And Aquarius is a friend of Gemini, just like Virgo is a friend of Gemini. A lot more fun than Virgo is. Aquarius is much more fun than Virgo. And so here that whole big, huge first house has Saturn in there. But this is the day our Mars is stationing. You can just barely see it down there in the 5th house. It has a little S after it. Solar fire is good to show you when something stations retrograde by giving you that little S. It'll shortly turn to an R. It's just sitting right at that edge, ready to, it's already gone backwards, but it's moving so slow you can't see it. So in the 5th house, it's a very activating. It's about your passion. The 5th house is about the things we love, where we're willing to take a risk. So the shorthand is, where are you willing to take a risk for the things that you love? Or where is your passion for your life? And capital letters, passion, P, for capital L, life. It's because that 5th house, it's about joy. It's about that ultimate freedom to be pure in love and light and joy. And so so it's a house of play, it's a house of sports, it's a house of taking chances. And so it's like, it's like being in love is super heartfelt, but where are you in love with the world? How do you love the whole world? And so this is a place that I think is so wonderful for our whole world right now, because we're all stressed out about, everything, because there is everything, right? But here in the 5th house, it's like, what can you love? Where can your mic is off, Sue.
Oh, I thank you. I was going to say, and it's personal planet, personal sign. So in context to this idea of the global changes that we've been experiencing, that continue to create an ongoing unknown quality, these energies really provide the fact that we're living in the moment now in our personal life. And that if we can build out of that, there's something we can create that will at least be constructive in however the fashion is. It's
right. And it's going to be unique for every person. You know, some people are going to want to solve world hunger, and other people are going to want to, you know, coach their kids' t-ball team. And it's perfect. Both of those jobs are important jobs. And are important activities to do and get done and have integrity about. But again, if the more people live out of their heart, out of that top heart space, when you connect with another person who's in their heart space, doing what they love, it is so awesome, because here's this person who's so in line. And after, you know, looking at the first chart where that Virgo ascendant was asking us to be impeccable and to stand up for ourselves and to admit and to own where we're not accountable so that we can be truly present. And when you're present in your passion, then this whole Mars retrograde couple of months that we've got can be totally terrifying, because we're living from heart space. And we go in and out of that. You know, we're not perfect at it. We're in a process of being there. But we, you know, so here's this place of growth and desire and connection, creating that more connection. So I love this particular placement for the Mars, because it gives the Mars that kind of next thing to do, and it's asking it to use love and connection as a form of play, and as a form of, you know, it's like, ooh.
Yeah. Love and connection. And I'm also looking at the energies here, realizing it's so imaginative, that there's many realms because of that energy with the Piscean, well, not to get too astrological here, but the fact that Jupiter is retrograding away from Aries back into its womb of the mystical and creative, imaginative Pisces, along with Neptune. It's intention there, so that it's a great time for probably manifesting the dreams, or like you said, write down 40, write down whatever, interconnect. It's very creative, very creative.
Yeah.
What about
because this retrograde point is the point where the first pass going in is here's the ideas. So now Mars going back over that point again. What are we going to do about it? Let's evaluate from another point of view. Instead of doing 80 gazillion things, now let's do this retrograde.
Now, there's two thoughts here I want to present. Sorry, but here we go. Gemini is always two, right? This and that. Yeah, I'm really onto it. One is, I'm thinking, well, because we have so much and we have a little time here. But one is that the other chart, and I see you've relocated it from there to here, the United States, but also Adamus, which is an Iranian point. I don't know if you want to bring that in, because it is hunky-dory. Things can, well, that's an overstatement, thank you, not to be too exaggerated here, but it's good, it's great to connect with this love factor, joyfulness that we need to, because it's our birthright as a person, you know, to be alive and to enjoy, but also getting past some of these things that are toxic that you were mentioning. I don't know if that's in the chart, or how you might want to mention that.
Yeah. So the Uranian point called Admetos is very close to the retrograde station point. It's at 3 degrees. So as it's coming in, it's right there saying, what thoughts, beliefs, attitudes do I hold that are toxic to me? that are taking me down into a negative place, and that aren't allowing me to be present in the love. Because if I've got something that's stopping me from being in a heart space, it's like that's probably a toxic energy. Sometimes that's a wound, sometimes that's a wound you have to really go in and look at. And if that's the case, this would be an exceptionally good time to do any kind of therapy work, especially talk therapy work. This is amazing for that.
Very true.
Because you can, you go all over the place, and eventually then it's like, oh, that was it.
Or play rolling. I'm thinking, like, if it's 3 degrees, because I'd asked you, it's 3 degrees Gemini, this point, Iranian point. For those that are interested, do your study, which I am. It's a part of the astrology, but not to be explained automatically. But it is these points that points matter. Everything's a point. That here on the 20th, a week ago, it was at 0 degrees. And today, I haven't checked, but it could be 3 degrees. It could be right now. So,
it could be
maybe
close.
Not, because it's very slow. I should have found out. In fact, I could find out right now what it is. But the point is that, go ahead.
Yeah. And so right now, because that's one of the points as it's entering in, it's like that'll make it really clear. The other thing about right now is, for the chart going in, is that the moon, which is our ability to have relationships with other people, is also in Gemini, and it's what we call out of bounds. In fact,
and it is 3, 4.
Oh, awesome.
Okay. Yeah, it was. Okay. It was yesterday. It was 3. Today it's 4. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And so the moon right now is way out of bounds. So we've got, here's this Admetos right there saying, how can we, make ourselves more, I don't want to say pure, but more aware of the places in us that hold us back. What are those kind of beliefs that take us down a road of not being able to connect? And the moon is where we can connect.
And it could be easily, this is a big factor that I'm always aware of. If we have because there's so much is redeveloping our value system and finding our internal system, listening to ourself, clearing the energies of the collective from our of ourself, because we're so externally oriented, out of need, out of communication in the world we live in. Yet we need to operate from the strength of our own energy system. And if that's the case, it's getting aligned to your highest intention.
Right. Exactly. And that Virgo ascendant, it's such a beautiful thing, because it's asking us the question, which Mars and Gemini need to be asked questions to direct the energy in a way that creates that growth, because otherwise it's going to be everywhere. So having that Virgo ascendant, that's awesome. We could go, that's the one.
I know, because we have a couple of minutes and I'm eager. Go ahead.
Yeah. So on the left-hand side, we've got the world chart that we talked about already, with that Mars down in the 5th house. And that's a general thing for everybody in the world. Everybody in the world is working on that at a subconscious level. When we get into the USA, we change the location to